Oh, what's the order?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our bi-weekly talk of our favorite young adult novels. Welcome to Teen-tober. So October is known as Teen Book Reading Month, and so that is something to keep in mind. So we're going to bring you some of our favorite young adult novels, and since it is October, there might be a couple spooky ones involved in there. I know you all have tons of time to be reading right now, especially with our remote learning for those of us in Albuquerque. But if you don't have a book, I strongly suggest you reach out to your school's librarian and check out what books they have that are ebooks, electronic books, so that you also can start getting in on this fantastic life of reading. As you can see, my office is surrounded with books, and that is like the case in all of our houses. So if you want, take a look behind everyone and see if you can pick out some of our favorite books that are on some bookshelves if you see any. So starting us off tonight will be Adrian. So Adrian, let's go.
Thank you, Misty. My first selection is Seven Deadly Shadows. And this is a book by Courtney Almeida and Vaylin Maitani. It came out in January of this year. I'm fairly sure it's a standalone, which is kind of nice sometimes to not get involved in a series. This book is a YA retelling of the classic film Seven Samurai. The main character is 17-year-old Kira Fujikawa. And she's never really had it easy. She's on scholarship at her school. She gets teased a lot and bullied by the other girls. Her parents basically ignore her. She's smack between the adored eldest brother and the very cute baby. She does have one family member that she's very close to, who's her grandfather. He runs their family's shrine, and her mom doesn't want anything to do with it, so she's kind of like the heir apparent to the shrine. Her parents find her interest in the shrine to be weird. They don't support it at all. They just as soon sell it. Her biggest secret, though, is she is gifted with the same sight her grandfather has, is that she can see yokai, which are the ghosts and demons that haunt the streets of Kyoto, where the book is set. Things go from bad to worse in the very beginning when her grandfather is killed trying to protect her. She learns that Shuten Doji, who is the demon king, will rise at the next blood moon to hunt down an ancient relic and bring the world to an end. The only chance that she has is to enlist the help of 7 of the death gods to help her slay the Demon King, but that's easier said than done because nobody wants to go against the Demon King. So it's really hard for her to try to find the 7 ones. Let's see. I enjoyed the book. It reminded me kind of an anime or manga made into a novel. So I think it would appeal to people who like anime or manga. It pulled me in from the beginning. It was nonstop to the end. The authors do a really good job of weaving some of the ancient Japanese myths into modern retelling, and they made me want to research and do my own reading of some of the Japanese myths. I highly recommend this book. I give it 4.5 stars. Again, Seven Deadly Shadows. Now back to Misty.
Thanks, Adrian. I'm going to start you off with a poem tonight. There was a little girl who had a little curl right in the middle of her forehead. And when she was good, she was very, very good. But when she was bad, she was horrid. So I read Horrid. It is a great book for October. I've decided that for the month of October, I kind of just want to read spooky books. And Horrid came out either late September or the beginning of this month. Oh my God. So awesome. Didn't even think about the poem until it's broken up into parts in the book, and every part is a stanza of the poem. So the beginning part is there was a little girl, and you get all the way till the end until it's horrid. And so I love it when things work out like that. But It's awesome. It's about Jane. She goes back to the East Coast with her mother to live in the house that her mother grew up in because Jane's father has passed away. And when she's there, she starts hearing about all these secrets that are going around town. And it's all about this huge secret that everybody seems to know, except Jane. And her mom, she doesn't want to talk about it. She just hates being home, but they just had to go because of circumstances, because dad passed, they're out of money, they just need to do this. So Jane starts exploring this old creepy house because it's spooky. So there's a creepy house. And what she's doing is she's learning about her mom's past. And she realizes that not everything is what it seems to be. So the book with Jane, you get to follow her as she goes on this journey. Absolutely loved it. Last page, I was like, what the hell just happened? Because it's one of those endings that I'm like, no. We need to rethink this ending, because I was like, what the hell just happened here? It's really good. I love it. I totally recommend it. It's by Katrina Leno. I had not read any of her books before, but it looks like she has about 5. But again, horrid, awesome book. And now on to Amanda.
Hey guys, happy Thursday. So I don't know about you guys, but one of my favorite things is to go to thrift stores and check out the book section. I love just looking at books and not knowing anything about them and just picking them up. And so that's where I got this book. This book is called Sidekicked. I got it from a Goodwill. Didn't have its dust jacket, just a blue book, and it gave the impression that it was about superheroes, which it is. And more than superheroes, it's about their sidekicks. It's a great mid-level book. It's about a kiddo named Andrew, and he is a sidekick. He's part of a secret organization that trains sidekicks, and they are assigned to like a mentor superhero. However, Andrew kind of has not the greatest superhero power. He has super hearing and super smelling and super taste. All of his senses are just enhanced. Whereas his best friend is just this amazing sidekick who is fast as lightning and super strong. And her mentor, superhero, is also the one that's protecting the city. So she's on the fast track to becoming someone, whereas his mentor is a washed up old, he's not even old, he's actually could be a really great superhero, but he's been traumatized in the past, so he wants nothing to do with the superhero game. So Andrew's kind of stuck on his own. And lots of things happen to Andrew, who's trying desperately to be the best sidekick he can to a hero that's not really interested in having him around. And also kind of, what do you do when you start to have feelings for your best friend, who's one of the coolest coolest sidekicks in the town? So check it out. Quick read, great for middle levels. I loved it. And check out your thrift store book selection, because there's some really great books in there. Thanks, guys. I'm going to hand it over to Katie now.
Hello, hola, buenas tardes. Happy Thursday, happy fall break for everybody who is working with APS, and happy spooky season. I, like Misty, love all things Halloween, and decided that most of what I'm going to read and watch in October is going to be spooky. So the 2 books I'm going to talk about tonight are spooky, but they're not horror books. And I decided to do a little bit something different this week. I'm going to talk about one book that I'm excited to read and one book that I'm excited that I have read. So my first book that I'm excited to read is a new book I found called Grim Lovelies by Megan Shepherd. So I don't know a ton about this book. There's a human world. The people are there called the Pretties, and the Pretties drive really fancy cars. They're super wealthy. They're humans in this world. And then the main character, her name is Anouk, and Anouk is a beastie. So that's the sort of lower class people, I gather, in their society. And Anouk has been enchanted to be a human. She can't practice magic. She can't do anything. She's banished to go work for this evil mistress. So it seems like it's going to have some Cinderella ties to it, maybe a little bit of a retelling. And then one day, Anouk finds her mistress murdered in a pool of blood. And then crime and mayhem seems to ensue after that. So I thought it'd be nice to share with you a book that I've never read that I'm excited to read, and you might be intrigued to read it too. I for sure picked this title up because Grimm's fairy tales. We love a good fairy tale retelling in this group. We've talked about them several times. So check out the cover, pretty cool. Grimm Lovelies, Megan Shepherd. Maybe I'll report back next book talk if I get it done in time. So now I'm going to send it back over to Misty.
What's up, party people? All right, so one other thing that I absolutely love about October and about spooky books is zombies. Love zombies. 100% love zombies. However, I picked up this one book. It's the beginning book of a trilogy because one of my nieces recommended it. And she was like, oh my God, Aunt Missy, you have to read this book. So she brought me the first book and the second book. And I was like, all right, and I was like, oh, I have those in my library. I've never read it. I look at them all the time because it totally looks like a book that I would read. And it pops up on my Amazon chart all the time of, hey, others have bought this book. And I was like, nah, first chapter, boom. So society is ravaged by a virus that presents like the flu. No, this isn't nonfiction. I'm reading a fiction book, so we're not talking about COVID, but it's eerie how sometimes, things that are written 3 or 4 years ago can mimic society now. So the first book, This Mortal Coil, starts out where society, like I said, is being ravaged by this virus that presents like the flu, but there's a twist. You get sick. A person gets really, really sick. And then what happens is they start emitting this smell. Like, I don't know, like their pheromones are coming off. I don't know. But what it does is it drives healthy people insane and it incites the wrath. And what the wrath does, it creates people that are almost like zombies. And what they do is then they attack other healthy people. And so the only way to keep yourself from turning into this and getting sick is to eat the body of somebody who is sick. It's really weird. It's crazy. And I was like, you got me hooked in the first chapter. Absolutely loved it. But the book, it really changes it throughout that. And that's what I absolutely love about books. When you start reading it and you start says one thing and then you're like, oh, hold up, this is something different. So This Mortal Coil was the first one. And we meet Katerina in it and her father, who is a master geneticist. He works with genetics. And so what he's doing is trying to create this cure for this virus. And he gets taken by the government because, big government conspiracy and whatnot. The book really turns out to be more about technology because it is a science fiction genre. And what it does is throughout the whole the 3 books in the trilogy. I'm not going to go over all of them because I do want you to read it. The big ideas from the books. This is the third one, This Vicious Cure, that I finished yesterday. Loved it. It has a lot of things about human experiments. When is it okay to experiment on humans if it's for the good of humanity? Is it worth experimenting on one person to find a cure for a virus, to get a vaccine, if it means killing one person to save 1 million, to save even 1,000, or to save 100? It's about body modifications. What would we go through? What would we do in order to change the way we look, the way we talk, the way we think, even going so far as changing and putting technology into our bodies? Almost not quite cyborgs, but kind of close to it. This idea of what happens, when does technology go too far? And that's a big theme in a lot of even classic books. And I really dug this trilogy because when is too far? And who holds the power? And even if we have the ability to do something, should we really do it? That's really a big question that comes across in a lot of books. And I think that's a book. And I found it, like I said, completely timely just because of everything that's happening, because it does make you think about what is the breaking point of humanity? When does humanity come to a point and be like, all right, and start fighting back? And when does Mother Nature tell us, okay, you need to rethink what you're doing? There's a lot going on in this trilogy. So it's This Vicious Cure is the third one. It's the Mortal Coil series. This Mortal Coil is the first one. This Cruel Design is the second one. And This Vicious Cure. Absolutely loved it. 100%. Probably one of my top trilogies that I've read, at least this year. All right, now off to my friend Heather.
Well, hello. I think when humanity is about to break down, it's usually inside an individual heart, not through a vicious cure. So I'm going to bring you a book tonight called Far From the Tree by Robin Benway. And it's not one I read recently, but it's stayed on my list of this is my favorite book for probably 2 years now. So I pulled it back out tonight because this week I've been reading 2 adult books. And so I thought it was time to share this book with y'all. So this book takes place in 3 voices. Grace, Maya, and Joaquin. And first you meet Grace, who is 17 and finds herself pregnant. And she's decided she's going to give the baby up for adoption, but that she's going to carry the baby, not have an abortion. And she invites the boy over to her house with her parents to talk about the fact that she has this baby and that she's going to bring it to term and then give it up for adoption. And he basically says, no, thank you. I'm not interested. I don't want anything to do with you. I don't want anything to do with this. And so she starts questioning her life because she was adopted at birth and by her parents. And now she's like, she never wanted to meet her birth mother before, she said. But then she started saying, what if I was like this for my mom, that she really did love me. She really did want me, but she just couldn't have me. So she goes on a quest to find her birth mom for the first time ever. And instead of finding her birth mom, she finds 2 siblings that were also put up for adoption by her mom. She meets Maya, who's kind of functional. She meets Joaquin, who's wonderful. He's my favorite character. And I just was reading a part of his passage and made me cry again, because I think by the end of this book, I was like, could barely breathe because of all the crying that happens. But Joaquin is this like broken, cool, awesome kid who never got adopted. And so he's part Hispanic, and he talks about how hard it is for him because he never found a family that wanted him. And so he finds his sisters. And then, it's so sad. And then at the end, he finds parents that want him. So sometimes we fall far from the tree.
Heather, I want to read that book because it sounds so good and so moving. But also, I don't really want to cry that much, but I'm going to put it on my list. So I'll take it over from you because it's my turn next. So welcome back, peeps, to my monthly-ish mention of a retelling, because like I said in my last one, this group, we love a good fairy tale retelling. So my book that I loved to read, that I was excited to have read, is a collection of fairy tales called Grimm. The authors, there's 17 retellings in here, from common fairy tales you'd know like Beauty and the Beast and the Snow Queen to not quite so common ones like the Robber Bridegroom. So the different authors in here is edited by a lady named Christine Johnson, and the authors in here are big YA names. I'm trying to find the page. I don't know yet. Rachel Hopkins, Melinda Lowe, Ellen Hopkins. If I remember right, Ellen Hopkins wrote the Crank series. She wrote Crash. Big YA, people love that for its realness and grittiness from that author, right? But each one of these is sort of based on those tellings, and they're a little dark. The original Grimm's fairy tales, as you may or may not know, super dark, super messed up. Then they got Disney-ified when they became those movies from Disney, right? So this one sort of returns to its roots of the original Grimm's fairy tales. They're creepy. People die when you think they'd live in the regular story. There's love, there's heartbreak, there's betrayal. I'm probably going to put this on my to be read right now shelf so I can revisit it, because it's been a little while since I've seen this book again. So if you love fairy tale retellings, if you love creepy, spooky things, also if you just love this cover because it is just like beautiful. These are all little cameos of different women and creatures in this tree. You will love this book. Grimm, edited by Christine Johnson. And to wrap it up for this evening is my friend Adrian.
Thank you, Katie. That sounds really good. I love a good fairy tale. My second book this week is Crave by Tracy Wolff. I admit I've had this on my shelf for quite a while. I got it right when it came out because I just love the cover. I heard a lot of buzz about it. And then I finally picked it up because it was chosen by an online book group that I'm in. And because the second book of the series just came out at the end of September. It kind of reminded me of a weird cross between Twilight and Harry Potter. If Dudley's parents died and he went to Hogwarts not knowing what Hogwarts actually was. So the main character is Grace, and her parents die in a car wreck right before the book starts. She only has one living relative, well, two, her uncle and her cousin. And her uncle runs a remote boarding school in Alaska, a really remote part of Alaska. So she leaves sunny San Diego, where she's been her whole life, and moves up to live at the school with her uncle and her cousin. Bad things keep happening to her. The first few days she's there, she almost dies several times. She gets really bad altitude sickness. She falls out of a tree. So she just, you start to think, is she just the most, clumsy person in the world? But actually, weird things keep happening too. She meets a dark brooding boy. Of course, teenage romance, you got to meet a dark brooding boy. She also has another boy that likes her. So it's a little bit of a triangle, but she falls for this dark brooding boy. She instantly has a crush on him. She kind of knows something weird is going on at the school, but she can't figure out what it is. She keeps asking her cousin, who's very evasive. And then she finds out that she notices that there's 4 main cliques at the school, and they do not talk to each other. They don't her cousin's in the one clique, the brooding boy's in a different clique. She finds out that the school is a boarding school for kids with supernatural abilities. So there's witches and warlocks, which is her cousin's group, wolf shifters, vampires, which is, of course, the dark brooding boy is the prince of the vampires, and dragons, which I thought was really interesting because I've never kind of read a book where humans turn into dragons, but it was really cool. At least 2 of the cliques want her dead. So these accidents that keep happening are really them trying to kill her, and she doesn't understand why. This book was kind of like candy or dessert. I couldn't put it down. I enjoyed it. It kept my interest. It's campy and funny. It's not something I would reread over and over. It's not, gonna win prizes for, depth, but I loved it. It was just really enjoyable. It kept my interest. I couldn't put it down. It looks big, but it actually read really fast. It is going to be a part of a series, I think either 3 or 4 books. But I do recommend it. I give it 4 out of 5 stars. And it was a cute story that kept my interest. So that's it for us this week. We're really glad that you joined us today. We hope you have happy reading in October. Pick up a scary book.
Bye, y'all. See you in 2 weeks. Have a good middle of October. Woo!